Hey everybody, editing Ashton here with my messy room, but I just wanted to apologize in advance because I've been testing out new microphone stuff, and I will state this in the video, and I figured out a good volume to keep at, but for this video I was just kind of messing around and trying to see what happens, and I'm gonna be honest, I do not want to record this again because I already missed last weekend's upload, and I don't want to miss this weekend's, so yeah, I apologize in advance. May your ears be prepared, headphone users. All right, on to the video. Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Ashton Does History. I'm Ashton. I do history, and in today's video, I'm testing out new shit with my with my microphone. So if I'm really close like this or really super far away like this, I do apologize. I'm trying to get something figured out. My stand is tiny, and it does not pick up my voice very well with this new mic. So be patient with me, please. But today we're going to be discussing a book that I actually had to read for English class called Hiroshima by John Hersey, or Hersey, or Hershey, or Hersey, or Hersey. I'm just going to call him John. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. It's spelled like hearsay, like a trial hearsay, but I could be completely wrong. But I've chosen this book because one of my favorite topics to learn about is actually radiation incidents, just and the side effects that they can have, every sort of thing like that. So this book was actually very good. John made sure to include 6 people affected by the bomb. These 6 are, and I'm so sorry, I'm reading this off of a script, and I'm 100% going to be butchering these names, so I will be trying my best, but I apologize in advance. The 6 are Toshiko Sasaki, Dr. Masakazu Fuji, Miss Hatsuyo Nakamura, or Nakamura? I'm trying. Father Wilhelm Kleinsorge. His occupation isn't professional dad, he's a church father. Dr. Terafumi Sasaki, no relation to Miss Toshiko Sasaki, and Mr. Kiyoshi Tanimoto. These 6 were all in Hiroshima at the time of the bombing, and they were all interested. They were all they all dealt with it. They all got injured in some way. They were all there when the bomb dropped. So actually, I 100% recommend reading this book if you are at all interested in the perspective and aftermath of the Hiroshima disaster. And I'm going to be skipping over a good chunk of the book here, first part of the book, because as you could guess, everyone's confused and thrown around with them heavily injured. And I will discuss some of these injuries as we move forward, as that is one of my main topic points of this video, the effect that radiation had on all of these people in Hiroshima. So, the thing that I'm here to talk about is the days afterwards, specifically how bad radiation sickness and radiation injuries were. One of the worst being what Father Kleinsorge had witnessed after the bombing, and he was left relatively unharmed. He was still scraped, bruised up, as what happens after you get hit by a bomb. So he went to Asano Park, where actually a lot of the characters went from this book. I believe just about everybody went to Asano Park to seek refuge. And Asano Park is a very important park for the Hiroshima people because it connects all the rivers and waterways throughout Hiroshima. So he was here to help all the wounded, and at this time he had a small raft to move injured people around Hiroshima or out of Hiroshima, and still gathering supplies. While he was doing this, he saw about 20 people stuck in the river, legitimately falling apart, human amalgamation style. Their skin was peeling off, they were dissolving into the sand, they were dissolving into each other. And when he went over to help, Kleinsorge saw that he couldn't do anything. If he grabbed any of them, their skin would peel right off, causing way more pain. And if he did just about anything else, it would cause some sort of injury to happen. So unfortunately, and this happened a lot with the people stuck in the Hiroshima rivers, they died. They were melded together with the radiation and the waters, and it wasn't like they were sitting there for a few hours. Most of those guys were in there for days on end, slowly getting dissolved by the water. But after this, and after realizing he couldn't save them, he had to unfortunately move on to help other people. He was actually rafting at the time to bring fresh water to survivors that weren't in Asano Park and were connected to the different waterways. And while doing this, he heard someone attempting to yell for help. So he walked over to supply water to whoever was asking, and then he stumbled through the brush and saw a horrifying sight. Again, about 20 people, this time uniformed Japanese soldiers, and they were completely obliterated. They weren't caught in the water, they were in a small bush area, but every single face was completely hollow. You could basically see the outside of their skeletons. Their faces were bright red, super puffy, pus everywhere. Same along with the rest of their body. Their clothes burned into their skin. But what I really wanted to talk about is they all had empty eye sockets. And whatever was left of their eyes was dripping down their faces. The running theory is that they were close enough to the bomb and looking at the bomb when it went off, and it literally obliterated their eyeballs, either from the power of the light they were looking at or radiation, severity. But unfortunately, all of these people, all of these soldiers eventually did die. Their faces were actually so swollen that when Mr. Kleinsorge ran up to them and saw all of and saw all of them, he actually had to take grasses from nearby and form a sort of rudimentary straw to get these guys water. They also asked if there was a doctor nearby that could fix their eyes, and excuse me while I scroll through my script, which is 3 pages. The soldiers had no idea what happened to them. They were asking for doctors. They didn't know that their eyeballs had completely melted off. And unfortunately, Kleinsorge, not having the heart to tell them no, told them that there was a doctor nearby and that he would fix their eyes very soon. Again, all of these soldiers ended up dead to severe burns and radiation poisoning. Another horrific story comes from a little bit after the bombing with the Hiroshima Maidens. And if you don't know who the Hiroshima Maidens are, is they were maidens in Hiroshima who were all affected by the bomb. Affected so much that they needed plastic surgery to save their faces. And they were covered in these big callus-like bruises, just like just about everybody who survived the bombing. And these would stick with them for life, unless they were given plastic surgery. Originally, their surgery started in Japan until Mr. Tanimoto from earlier, who actually had connections to the US, recommended that US doctors try and fix their faces and fix their bodies and see what they could do. In the span of about 8 months, 138 surgeries happened to all of these girls. And afterwards, it's not really known where they ended up, what they ended up doing. In about 2017, Japan actually handed out saying that there were actually a lot of these maidens that lived into their 80s. So it's not known how many are dead, how many are alive. But one did go around the US for a bit and actually created a book for herself. But I would recommend reading it 100%, and I would recommend looking up for these maidens, because one of the interesting burn effects that they had was actually, back then, it was very honorable for and very, custom to have special patterns in your clothing and like textured patterns and all of that. So for a lot of people close enough to the bomb that survived, their clothes actually melded into their skin. And when eventually parts of these clothes could be removed, there was permanent scarring left in whatever pattern they had. So, on top of that, I really also wanted to discuss people's opinions on the bombing itself. Throughout the book, it's devastating to read just how many people were thinking, what did I do? And why are the Americans attacking me? And then later in the book, at the end, people commented that they were glad America had dropped the bomb and that it saved Japan. And it's a very interesting juxtaposition, because on one end, you have this horrible bomb that disfigured and killed so many, just straight up atomizing and obliterating people. But on the other end of it, you had this brainwashed country that was throwing its citizens and soldiers into suicide-like situations, where either way, a lot were going to end up dead. And maybe if the US hadn't bombed, Japan wouldn't be a country anymore. It wouldn't even be a people anymore. It'd just be gone. There isn't really a good angle on this issue. Overall, it's just unfortunate. The entire bombing is, but that's my little talk about some of the stuff from the Hiroshima book. I 100% recommend reading this book for yourself, picking it up anywhere. It's sold relatively cheap. I saw one for like $5 on Amazon, but go to your local library. It's actually in a lot of libraries just because of how popular the book was a while ago. But yeah, I 100% recommend reading this. I only touched into a small bit of the details. The actual story of these people's lives is absolutely incredible, and I barely touched on any of them. So please, if you're at all interested in the Hiroshima anything, check the book out. It's an amazing book. It made me cry at several parts. But again, if you are at all interested in anything radiation related, reading the Hiroshima books, because you get firsthand accounts as to how bad radiation sickness can be. It's not just stuff like swelling and hair falling out and vomiting. It's things like eyeballs melting and skin literally peeling off. So yeah, this is Ashton Does History. I'm Ashton. I just did some history. Please, if you enjoyed this, like and subscribe. Of course, I get it if you don't want to. Just, continue your afternoon scroll or morning scroll or late night scroll or whatever scroll you may be scrolling. Maybe it's a Greek scroll. Maybe it's an ancient scroll. Who knows? But forever and always, thank you for watching.